One of the things that Daniel Pink talks about is the importance of providing context. And so instead of turning on the fire hose right away and say, here it is, providing some context. So in doing that, I want to do two parts. One is I come from NOVA, and what a NOVA is, and the other part is a program we operate called ProMatch, because I think it provides a platform to be able to talk about some of the pinkish things that we've been looking at. When we invented the name NOVA 25 years ago, and actually I was around when that happened, we didn't think about the fact that it kind of means we're not going any place in Spanish. So that was probably not a good idea there. But as I look at today, I was looking up at the board over there and saw innovate. And in the middle of innovation is NOVA. So that would have been a really good thing to do, but we didn't really think about that. We thought about it at that time being North Valley, not realizing that there's a lot of valleys in this nation, and we are only just one of them. But it's the northern part of Santa Clara Valley, and it's really the heartland of Silicon Valley. It's a 7-city consortium. We have about 500,000 people and about 500,000 jobs. The Silicon Valley area itself has about 1 million jobs, so about half of the jobs that reside in that area are inside of our 7 cities. As I think all of you are aware, it's a very dynamic and a very changing place. It has a lot of challenges. When Daniel Pink said that this outsourcing stuff was a hype or overhyped, not in my area. It's not overhyped. In fact, in the beginning of this decade, we lost 225,000 jobs inside of an 18-month period of time, and those jobs have not come back. And so they're basically maybe grown maybe 25,000 of those jobs back. We have a relatively low unemployment rate, but that doesn't mean underneath that surface there's not tremendous turbulence. If I look at underneath that surface, in any one year, we see 60, 70,000 jobs disappear that existed the year before, and 60 or 70,000 new jobs coming on. So a tremendous amount of change, and really, probably in the best of all worlds, not much stuff in the rearview mirror to provide you guidance, and kind of the instinct to be able to make choices rapidly and to make mistakes and to learn from that. So that's kind of the NOVA program. On the downside, I just want to add a story I had over the legislative side. Starting last Friday, we closed our operations 1 day a week for the rest of the year to handle rescissions. And so in an area where we have massive numbers of layoffs, the same day we're sitting there saying we don't have our doors up to be able to serve the people, and we need to tell that story, to the consequence of the fact that money means something in our business, and it really often means the connection of people to the new opportunities. The ProMatch program is kind of reflective of Silicon Valley. If you think about a lot of the jobs that are lost may be in services, but a lot of the jobs are lost often because of technology. And the ProMatch is actually a collection or coalition of individuals looking for work from professional backgrounds, and their job is to help each other. On any one day right now, there's probably 175 members to it. It's gotten down as low as 125. It's gotten as high as 300 people in it. And people have to dedicate 14, 15 hours a month to the effort. So it's actually run by them. We just provide some individuals that are kind of more catalytic in causing the conversations to take place. So with that backdrop, the three things I wanted to kind of come back on that touched me when I was reading the book over here was one, of being able to tell the story. The people in ProMatch, their first workshop that they do, the second workshop that they do, and the third one, all have the name in front of it of PSR. And PSR stands for Problem, Solution, Results. So don't come and tell me I've run NOVA for 25 years. Tell me what I did inside of that had an impact. So helping people be able to frame what they've done in their professional career around the challenges that they faced, the solutions that they participated in, and the results of their involvement inside of that. Not only telling that story about the sequence of what took place, but to tell it with energy, to tell it with passion, to tell it with caring. So suddenly they're talking more about who they are and why that should be valued by, in that labor engagement. Those stories, if you begin to put them together, the word Daniel Pink would use over there is symphony. Suddenly the coalition of the stories begins something about what's happening in real time in Silicon Valley. And there's a book I read, I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, of The Wisdom of the Crowd. And that's basically, I think, what ProMatch is about, a crowd of people that are able to make better choices collectively than probably we could ever coach them to do individually. And one of the chapters of The Wisdom of the Crowd talked about the wisdom of the hive. And it tells a story about honeybees get up every day, the alarm goes off, we have to go to work. But instead of going out and all randomly going different places, because where the nectar is switches each day, it changes, they send out some scouts. The scouts go figure out, they can fly up to, I think, 5, 6, 7 miles out. They figure out where the honey is there. They come back in, and then they do a dance, what's called a waggle. And the amplitude of the waggle tells you how much honey's there. And so those bees every day kind of divide where they're going to based upon the scouts coming out and saying, we got a lot over here, we got a little bit over here. And that's, I think, the symphony of ProMatch, is they're going out every day, realizing in real time what's happening, and they're coming back and sharing that with their community. It may be information that they have that's not that important to them, but it may be important to their neighbor, and that exchange suddenly becomes a community of people helping look for work with that. So there's some part about there that's really trying to figure out how do you build community of people who have the ability to do the job probably better than our counselors do. And that's the third part of the story, and it talks about meaning. For myself, when I looked at the biggest challenge I have as an organization is how do you take knowledge-based counselors who used to know kind of the answer of what color your parachute was and how do you go look for work, to be really more learners in a community about what's changing. And so be more of the conceptual part of it there rather than the knowledge deployment part of it. And that's been really, really hard for me because people have a tendency to want to go back and do the things they did before in their workshops and give people the steps of what to do rather than becoming engaged in a community and learning in real time what's changing in front of that windshield. So those are the three parts I wanted to share, and that's kind of, I didn't have an end to that. Do I have a conclusion? Wait a minute. Oh, yes, a conclusion. I think the biggest part of what I've learned from the ProMatch and putting that last part there is not learning necessarily. We used to talk about the importance of getting a job and then getting a career, and we spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley realizing people have to build careers rather than jobs. I think a lot of what Daniel Pink showed us was actually also the issue of meaning. And I think that's the part of when I was trying to make the connection with the counselors there. It's not only around how do you get work, but how do you find meaning in life? Most of the people who lose their jobs, who end up coming up to us, look like the people in this room here. And they've done jobs for a long period of time because that's where they did and how they got locked into something. And more often than not, they're sitting there saying, and this is a time in my life that I have to figure out not only what do I like doing, but where does it align with my values and my meaning of life? And meaning becomes almost a part of the compensation equation. And that's a really hard thing, I think, also for us to understand there, that it's not just about earning a salary or a paycheck, but it's really about how you want to live your life.